let's move on to the challenges and benefits of having autism. And yes, you heard me right, I did say benefits. So let's go through these. Fine motor coordination issues. So I have dysgraphia, which is a type of specific learning disability that makes it very hard to take what I'm coming up with up here and translating it into putting it in my hand, in a pencil, and on a paper. Additionally, my handwriting kind of suffers as a result of the dysgraphia. And it's one of those other disabilities that is very, very oftentimes comorbid with autism. What that means is they appear together. Next one, difficulty understanding language, gestures, and social cues. This one's big. Autism at its core, I think, is a social kind of disability. Most of the effects that autism has on me are social. So, for example, there was one weekend that I came home from college, my freshman year of college, went out on my deck and saw my mom and my sister out there teaching my mom, and my sister was teaching my mom how to dab. It was painful to watch, to say the least. So I see chaos ensuing out there, and I walk out and I ask, hey, what's going on? And my sister looks at me and goes, well, I'm teaching mom how to dab. I'm like, no, you're not. That's when you take a damp washcloth, put it on someone's forehead when they're sick, right? And she just looks at me. She was like 14 at the time, looks at me and just shakes her head and goes, no, 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 dear God, no, no, that's not how this works. And then she's like, now, when I say this, you will swear that she had not existed with me for her entire life at this point, but she looks at me and goes, try it. Just try it. You'll understand. So I'm like, okay. And I tried it. And if you don't know any, so one of the things about autism that's weird is if I try and do something that is rooted in social behavior, it doesn't give me like this light bulb moment of clarity. It just confuses me even more. But I tried it. And she's like, wow, that was really good. And I'm like, wow, I have no idea what I just did. And that pretty much describes my social life in general. I look to my peers for inspiration on how to kind of fit into society. I look to them to emulate their behaviors and sort of imprint those on myself. So to those of you who are in the same age bracket as me, thank you. You've given me a productive social life. Next one, limited or no eye contact. Now it's weird in this setting because normally I would say, you must be thinking, how can I look around at a room of people and make eye contact with all of you? But there is no room of people in front of me and there is no one to make eye contact with except for the little tiny camera that shows my face. Believe it or not, though, it is easier for me to stand up in front of a group of 100 or 200 people than it is to talk to one person. And that's because of eye contact. If I'm doing a presentation in front of a group, I can move my eyes around the room and make eye contact with one person at a time, as a good public speaker should. Then bounce my eyes to another one, and another one, and another one, as quickly or as slowly as I want to try and get the point across that I'm speaking. At the same time, talking with someone one-on-one, I have to stare into their soul the entire time they're talking, which is, for both of us, very, very awkward, very weird, very strange, and I just don't like the feeling of it, so I prefer not to make eye contact with anyone. In the American society that we live in, that's not an option. You have to make eye contact with people. So I've learned over the years to kind of fake it till I make it. If I'm making eye contact with you, I kind of look around you, around back of you, and see what's going on behind you. I might stare at your forehead instead of making eye contact. It's a work in progress. I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it, but I'm making strides. Next one, difficulty participating in back and forth conversations. Social is hard, eye contact is weird, that's all you need to know. Next one, my own little description for what autism is, continual social awkwardness. The best way I can equate this is that inevitable awkward silence that happens on a first date. I know all of you know what I'm talking about. So the next time you go on that date and have that awkward silence, because that's pretty much what my life is, think of me the next time that happens. You're not having an awkward silence anymore, you're having a Tim. It was funny, my sister's freshman year homecoming dance, two of her friends came up to her and told her that they were having a Tim at the moment, which was hilarious. I loved it. Any chance I can get to kind of embarrass my sister, I do, because what else are big brothers for, right? Next one, repetitive behaviors such as pacing, winding things up, spinning, hand flapping, rocking. These are all self-stimulating behaviors, or stimming for short. These are behaviors that people with autism will exhibit when they are about to or already in a meltdown phase. And especially for people with nonverbal autism, just imagine for a second. You haven't eaten anything all day. You are starving. And now I take your voice away. You can't say I'm hungry anymore. You can't say, hey, can I have some food? Hey, can I have a slice of that pizza? You can't say anything. The most you can do is spin, flap, rock, let out a few non-verbal moans. This is what people with that low-functioning autism have to deal with. They are still there. They are still conscious of what's going on around them. They are still processing everything. They can understand everything that's happening. They just can't reciprocate that understanding to you. So if you were in that situation, how would you communicate what you are experiencing? Would you try one of those behaviors? I think most of us would. Next one, sensitivity to light, sound, smell, taste, or touch. I've talked a little bit about that, and there's a video coming up on the next slide. Oh, I know, there's a video talking about and giving a little bit more in-depth experience of what hypersensitivity is like. Next, good rote learning and long-term memory skills. I like to memorize things. My parents say I have a foodographic memory. That's my dad's joke. Because I like to memorize restaurant menus. Pretty much I know what I want before I get to the restaurant. Just two things. Don't ask me to pick the restaurant, and don't ask me to tell you how much it is, because I don't know either way. I also like to memorize weird, strange, unusual history facts, which my students really seem to like, because they'll just come up and ask me for a random fact. Hey, whatever keeps them engaged, right? Next one, adherence to the rules. Now this one gets kind of tricky. So, rules to me are very inflexible. They exist for a reason, and I'm going to follow them. Now, there are certain exceptions to that. For example, in the state of Kentucky, it is illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket. True story. The reason being, back in the 1800s, when most people rode around on horses, people would actually put ice cream cones in their back pockets, walk down Main Street, and any horses that weren't tied up became his, because he just stole a whole bunch of horses because they want ice cream. Nowadays, that law really doesn't make much sense to have on the books anymore, because cars, last time I checked, don't go following around people with ice cream. Unless they're an ice cream truck, and even that is up in the air. Another interesting, strange law that no one really knows why it exists in Pennsylvania. It is illegal to sleep outside on top of your refrigerator on a Sunday. Let me say that again. It's illegal to sleep outside on top of your refrigerator on a Sunday. You can sleep outside on top of your fridge any other day of the week. You can sleep inside on top of your fridge whenever you want. And you can, pick a day and sleep, whether you're inside or outside on top of your fridge. It doesn't matter, as long as it's not a Sunday. I don't know where this law even came from. I don't know why it exists. Somehow, it's still in the Pennsylvania Code of Law. So most of the time, laws make sense, and laws keep people safe, aside from those two non-examples. And if you think about it, your own personal schedule is kind of like your own set of rules. The part where this becomes an issue for people with autism is when life inevitably throws a monkey wrench into the gears. And a lot of you, I'm sure, are experiencing that right now, because you have all of the time in the world to spend with your families, probably more time than you ever would have wanted. And your schedule for the year has been completely derailed. All of us are experiencing right now what a schedule change is like on a large scale. So the anxiety that you're feeling right now, anytime there is a small schedule change for a person with autism, that is what we feel. The worst thing you can do for a kid with autism is a fire drill. Because not only is it a 15-minute unscheduled break in my day, it's also a loud, screeching, screaming alarm and a bright flashing siren in my face. Are you trying to kill me? No joke. 2 of the times that I went back to my high school to present after I graduated, both in the fall and in the spring semester for health class, the fire alarm went off halfway through one of my lectures. Both times. It was hilarious. It was like right as I got to this point too, that there was a fire alarm that went off. We all had to run outside like a herd of wild animals, stand out there in the parking lot, turn around and face the burning building that wasn't actually on fire. You know, if you're going to get all of our hopes up that much, can you just light it on fire and let it burn already? Just kidding. Just kidding. But no, that's what this is like to have a fire drill. Next one, gross motor coordination issues. I walk and run like an awkward gazelle. Enough said. Excessive honesty. People with autism tend to be brutally honest. I've sort of learned over the years the hard way how to tell a little white lie, but many people with autism will just tell it like it is. There are still quite a few things that I tell it like it is. And I'm working on that. I'm still not perfect yet. That's the goal, is to be perfect, but for now, we're just going to have to deal with me being imperfect. Next one, ability to understand and retain concrete concepts and patterns. This is fun. I'm sorry to any of you who might be English teachers or prospective English teachers, but I cannot stand English class. I hate it. For 2 reasons, author's purpose and symbolism. So let's talk about symbolism first. Let's say we're reading a novel as a class, and there's a stop sign that appears that's supposed to foreshadow something mystical and magical happening later on in the book. No, it doesn't. It's a stop sign. It's an 8-sided red figure propped up on a metal pole. You pull up to it at an intersection, you stop, you turn left, and right, and left again, and you keep going in whatever direction your heart's desire, as long as it's on a road. It's nothing mystical, there's nothing magical, it's not a crystal ball, it's a stop sign. Now let's talk about author's purpose. Let's say we're reading Romeo and Juliet, which I'm sure for some of you is giving you a mini panic attack right now. And there's that inevitable standardized test question of, why did the author write this? I don't freaking know. I have no idea. And I'm certainly not going to fly over to England and dig up poor William Shakespeare to ask him. It just doesn't work like that. You know, I pull his skull out of the ground, I will kind of like Macbeth and go, hey, Will, why did you write Romeo and Juliet? I don't know, Tim. I've been dead for 500 years. It doesn't work like that. I can't answer you. See, it just doesn't work. And if you say read between the lines, all right, fine. I'm reading between the lines, and all I see is just white in between the lines. Just white, 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 white. There's nothing there to read. And if there was something there to read, then we wouldn't be able to read anything, because the whole page would just be covered in black, and there would be no lines to read between. Author's purpose doesn't make sense to me unless the author is standing there and I can actually physically ask him or her why he wrote it. That's English class for you. On the flip side, I do have a strong interest or ability, people with autism have a strong interest and ability in math, technology, music, and art. Math I'm decent with. I mean, to me, it kind of makes sense. 2 + 2 is 4. I have 2 things in this hand, 2 fingers on this hand, 2 fingers on this hand. Oh, look, I've got 4 fingers now. Isn't that amazing? Technology. All of this makes sense to me. I love technology. It works for me. It flows. Music. I was in the band for 4 years. Can I read a note if you give me a piece of sheet music now? No. And art, I can draw a stick figure on a good day. Maybe. All right, let's move on.